On our morning show get-together today from WRCO, Michelle Reinen from DATCAP is our guest, talking about some things to be wary of here, consumer protection topics for March of 2025. Here we go. Well, everybody is spring gung-ho and thinking about projects, and I think that's where we go to first. Home improvement projects, Michelle. What do you have for us this month?
Yeah, we do, because, many consumers, we spend this springtime or late winter indoors, and we're looking around our homes, and we're starting to make those lists of those home improvement projects that we may want to tackle ourselves or start seeking someone else to assist us in those projects. And so we just want to give some consumer tips to help us through this process so things go smoothly with the transaction and the project themselves. And the first tip really is decide in advance what the job will involve. Seems really basic, but that means, draw some sketches and find references that are pictorials in magazines or online to really show those prospective contractors that you want to work with what your vision is. And that way you're making sure you're communicating with different contractors in the same way. You're getting a similar bid with all those contractors by really being able to explain your vision for whatever the project may be.
The recommendations are important too. Maybe ask a friend or a neighbor, whoever, who may have used this person before, right?
You're absolutely right. Give those recommendations, friends, family members, people that you trust, that you can go to. Maybe it's a neighbor that you've been able to see the work that was performed by that contractor. But then consider contractors at home shows, but be sure to check them out before you sign. And there's going to be great enticement to sign during those home shows, but be sure that you're checking with Consumer Protection and the Better Business Bureau and online reviews to see if there are any complaints or pending issues with that contractor. And then, home show is a great source for this, but get more than one estimate. Make sure all contractors are bidding on that exact same work and using the same materials for the work. So you are sure that your comparisons are apples to apples as opposed to apples to oranges and bananas. You want to be sure that that's all the same. And that means the contractor coming to the job site rather than giving you a phone estimate. And then you got to be leery of those really low estimates. Why is it so much different from a different contractor?
Do most contractors carry a license with them?
Well, some do. And so you're going to want to ask to see the contractor's license and certifications if they represent that they do. These show proof that the contractor's paid for workers' compensation, unemployment insurance, minimum levels of liability, or a bond. And the liability insurance covers workers and public injuries and damage to property. So if they indicate that they have one, be sure that they can show you proof that it really exists. And then oral agreements can be a legally binding contract in our state, but don't rely on an oral agreement for the protection of both you and the contractor. It's wise to request that everything be put in writing. The contract serves as that statement between the consumer and the contractor to know exactly what services will be performed, what materials will be used, that expected time frame when that work will be delivered and completed.
The cost of materials these days, too, can really vary, and they're really high, but you probably want to see receipts, right? And make sure that you're paying for that and what you're paying for you're getting.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you want to be sure that if there's any payment is required or made before the work is done and the written contractor requires that you know about your right to a lien waiver. So that involves payments. Request that lien waiver, get that to be sure that a subcontractor doesn't come, and never sign a completion certificate or make that final payment until that you're satisfied all the work is done. And that means using the correct materials that were part of your contract. And one contractor may suggest using a lesser material than you suggested because of costs. And so make sure you are factoring that in when you are doing those comparisons across contractors.
We switch gears and talk about weights and measurements, which we're subject to just about every day, aren't we?
We are, and during the first week in March, in across the nation, actually, it's National Weights and Measures Week, and so while we try and recognize it year-round here in Wisconsin, it's important to know because this impacts consumers who are buying groceries, motor vehicle fuel, any number of products in our state that rely on accurate weights and measures every single day. And so we have inspectors out there that are making sure consumers receive the full value of their purchase. And staff conducted more than 213,000 inspections at more than 6,000 business locations in Wisconsin. We calibrated standards, meaning we're making sure that the weights weigh accurately. If it says it's 5 pounds, then it is 5 pounds. But this really matters to you in your everyday life. So think we do vehicle scales, are used to weigh products like gravel, stone, soil, fertilizer for landscaping and gardening, among other goods. So if you have spring projects, know that we're out there making sure that vehicle scales are weighing accurately so consumers are going to get the appropriate amount of materials that they are paying for. And that's the same with electronic price scanners at grocery stores. These are inspected regularly to make sure that they give the accurate price at checkout. And also with liquid propane gas, LPG meters, measures and dispenses LPG fuel for use in appliances like gas grills, portable heaters, and other items. So we're out there doing those inspections and making sure that there are a good consumer confidence scores, and you can count on getting what you pay for with these products.
Well, you worry about it, especially at grocery stores and things like that. Are the scales pretty accurate from what you've seen?
They are. So the consumer confidence score, if you will, or the rating for accuracy is 98.6% in our state. And we did more than 36,000 inspections of electric price scanners in 2024. So that confidence score has come from a lot of detailed information that we've received.
Some other things that we talk about this month, PayPal scammers. What do you have on that, Michelle?
Yeah, so DADCAS has received reports from consumers who've received fake PayPal invoices from scammers. One consumer received a convincing invoice for a cryptocurrency purchase that they did not make, and it included a customer service number they were encouraged to call if they did not recognize the purchase. So anyone would do this, right? I mean, you'd question this. The number was not actually for PayPal's actual customer service department. It was a fake number set up by the scammer. And so scammers try all sorts of variations of this scam to convince consumers to send them money, personal information, and private data, such as that bank account number and account login details. And I know we've talked about this before with many other scams, but please remember, any consumer out there, that if you receive a suspicious invoice, don't react right away. Instead, pause, think about the situation, check your records, log in yourself, see if there's any suspicious activity that would match that description, and then talk about the invoice with someone that you trust. And if need be, reach out to PayPal through their website, calling any help center number that they have posted, as opposed to what would be in the email that you received.
PayPal is a company that's been around for a long time, and obviously they would be able to help you, I'm sure, if there's something that's gone awry.
Absolutely. I mean, we talked about a variation of this scam last month, I think, related to Spectrum Television with Publishers Clearinghouse. I'm sure we probably talked about the fake invoices received from Amazon. I know recently I got one with Netflix indicating that I needed to do an adjustment to my account. Here's the link. These are all phishing schemes using very popular, well-known company names that people often engage with in order to just throw you off balance in thinking about regular communication. So you will respond and act immediately.
Little did they know that they were trying to scam the administrator of Division of Trade and Consumer Protection. Right? You had the last laugh.
And I was taking my time that day, so contemplating things. So, they hit everybody, and we're all can be susceptible to these things.
Right, exactly. You're right. I think sometimes when you're in a hurry, you maybe don't look at it as closely as you should, right?
Absolutely. So that's why we just really take your time, talk about it, think through it, and then decide what your action's going to be.
Medicare Advantage open enrollment, there's another scam that could hit on the seniors, too.
Yeah, so consumers can make changes to their Medicare Advantage health and prescription drug coverage during this open enrollment period, and it runs through the end of this month, March 31st. And so Medicare Advantage plans are offered by private companies. They can differ from original Medicare and from each other on things like in-network coverage, out-of-pocket costs, and referral policies for specialists. But during the Medicare Advantage open enrollment, consumers can switch from their current plan to another Medicare Advantage plan, or they can return to original Medicare, join a separate Medicare drug plan. There's lots of options. So to protect themselves, avoid consumer issues, reduce the risk of getting scammed, and consumers should take care during the open enrollment period. Some things consumers can do specifically and keep in mind considering coverage options should be confirming what a plan really includes. That needs to be the first step. If a consumer is thinking about switching to another Medicare Advantage plan, don't take an ad, that agent, broker's word who might be calling when it comes to the details. Call the plan directly and ask a bunch of questions. Will your primary doctor or other doctors see you or be in network? Will your costs, including co-payments, change? Will your prescriptions be covered? Will you need prior authorization to get the care you need? Think about your circumstances and what you have right now and what's important to you about your current plan or what you dislike about your current plan, and be sure you are asking those questions and confirming that information.
You should also keep good records, right, of who you talk to?
You do. You need to keep good records when talking to an agent or broker about the plan and coverage. Keep track of who they talked to, when they talked to them, what they said. See if they'll follow up in writing. I know time is probably getting shorter now, but still see if you can get it in writing so you have that for your records. And then get help comparing those Medicare costs, coverage, and plans. You can get local help. Contact the State Health Insurance Assistance Program at shiphelp.org. That's SHIP help.org. You can find information about coverage options at medicare.gov. That's going to be unbiased in information that they have. And it's just, you have to do your research to be sure you're making a decision that's right for you.
Well, anything coming up in the month of April as we look ahead to the next visit that we have with you, Michelle?
Ooh, April, what will we have then? I mean, we'll be down to the wire on tax filings, I'm sure, so there may be some identity theft. There's garage sale season, so maybe some safety messaging as well. So always lots to look forward to as we cycle through the year.
Indeed. So already the third month of the year, and March, I think people are in a good mood and, again, looking at maybe making some improvements. So just don't get caught. What happens if there are some concerns, Michelle?
Call Consumer Protection. Reach out to the Consumer Protection Hotline with any questions or concerns or things that you're seeing at 1-800-422-7128 or go to our website at datcp.wi.gov.
All right, sounds good. We'll talk to you again next month, Michelle. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's Michelle Reinen joining us from DATCP for our March visit here on The Morning Show.